The following is brought to you by San Mateo Credit Union.
Welcome to our show today, More Than Money. I'm Rosanne Foust, and I'll be your host, along with guests from the San Mateo Credit Union, to talk about budgeting and savings. Our first guest today is Jennifer Najera, who is a loan advisor with the Redwood City branch of San Mateo Credit Union. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me, Rosanne. I'm happy to be here today. And let's start off with the definition of budgeting. So budgeting keeps track of what your income is, where your income goes, and allows you to plan out how much money you'll have after you've paid your reoccurring bills, such as rent or mortgage or your car payment. So those are the current budgeting tasks.
So tell us why a budget is important for your financial freedom. Why would it make a difference?
Of course. Well, statistics say only about 60% of people, meaning 6 out of every 10, actually sit down and take the time to write out a budget of their weekly or monthly spending habits. In an ideal world, that'd be 100%, because having a budget is something everyone should have. We've all been guilty of saying, where'd my money go? Or I thought I had more money than this. And it's something that we don't need to be saying. Having a budget can prevent you from that overspending or maybe spending money you didn't have in the first place.
Well, Jennifer, understanding that with only 6 of 10 individuals having a budget, can you walk us through creating a budget and tell us how we would do it?
Of course. Our goal of this segment is to help you with the steps required in building a budget and also improving the skills that you already may have. We're hoping to take off some of that end of the month pressure.
That's great.
As the saying goes, you got to know where you've been to know where you're going. So in order to begin creating a budget, it's really important that we understand what our current spending trends look like. Let's start off with this financial fitness gauge. We're going to take a look at the questions on the screen and answer yes or no, or true or false for each of them.
Okay, great. So you're going to walk us through each of the questions.
Yes.
Perfect.
So managing your must-haves. I know how much money I need to cover my regular bills, like rent, utilities, and groceries for myself and my family.
Yes or no?
Keeping your wants under control. I plan about how much money I can spend for special holidays or birthdays.
Yes or no? This is a tough one.
Yes.
These are good questions.
Yes. Minimizing fees, I use low-cost banking tools, such as a checking account, that make it easy to track my spending and pay bills on time.
Again, yes or no?
Paying yourself first. Before lending money to friends or relatives, I make sure that my needs or my family's needs are taken care of first.
Very important.
Minimizing fees. I don't use check cashers or payday loans.
So that's a true or false?
Yes, ma'am. And actively saving. I save up for major purchases so I don't have to pay interest on installment loans.
Again, true or false? So tell us a little bit more, because I do want you to define, some people don't know what check cashing is. And so if you could help explain that. But we want viewers also to grab a pen and paper so they can begin creating a budget of their own.
Yes. So the purpose of this entire activity was to help with the budgeting tools and skills that you may already have mastered, but also at the same time find different areas that you may need to work on. Just like you mentioned, I have a hard time with the spending certain amounts on holidays or birthdays. I have a 1.5-year-old at home, and it's very easy to overspend, but that's something I have to keep track of. But again, as you said, I always discourage using check cashers or payday loans.
And tell us why someone wouldn't want to do that and what other options they have. Because I don't even know sometimes what I bought. You know, if I go into a local coffee house, what did I get? You know, in thinking about it and writing it all down.
Well, check cashing businesses offer a very limited amount of financial services. These are usually used by people who don't typically have a savings or checking account with a financial institution like a bank or credit union. Unfortunately, utilizing these services usually come at a cost to the customer. That's why one of the reasons that we highly encourage people who are currently using them to only do so if they have no other options.
And when you talk about no other options, I know that the credit union works with the community. So could you define or tell us about some of the areas that the credit union can help with, some of the special products, services?
Of course. San Mateo Credit Union and a lot of other institutions like us often offer something called a second chance checking. It's wonderful for people who may not have qualified or under the original standards for a checking or savings account. And for people at home who currently don't have a financial institution, I encourage you to research a credit union in your area to see if they offer those types of services.
I think this has all been very helpful. So Jennifer, I want to bring you back. Give us just a few highlights based on what we talked about, the slides we saw, to kind of wrap up this segment, because then we're going to be going into the next segment with one of your colleagues.
Yes. So the whole thing about budgeting and savings is trying to keep what money you have and what money you can spend and seeing what the difference is. To take a little bit of the end of the month pressure off, to avoid fees that you don't need to have, such as with check cashiers or payday loans. And by building a budget, this will help in all of those areas.
I think it'll be extremely helpful. And Michael Terrado, who is your colleague, is going to come up here and talk about the specific budgeting process in our next segment. So I want to thank you, Jennifer, and I want to thank San Mateo Credit Union, because you are known as the community bank, and you are very important to San Mateo County. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Rosanne.
Peninsula TV is supported by San Mateo Credit Union. 60 years of experience providing financial services to the people of San Mateo County. Security, value, community, tradition. Where people are worth more than money. SMCU.org. SMCU.org.
Welcome back to More Than Money. I'm Rosanne Foust, and I'm your host today. With us, we have representatives of the San Mateo Credit Union, and today's topic is budgeting and saving. With us right now is we have Michael Terrado, loan advisor with San Mateo Credit Union. So Michael, you are going to walk us through the budgeting process, and we're going to have slides again up so the viewers at home, they should have a pen and paper handy so they can take notes as we go through it. So let's start with the first question. Jennifer touched on our financial fitness. Now that we've had time to think about our personal financial situation, can you help viewers at home put this knowledge into practice?
Yes, I definitely can. First and foremost, it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me, Rosanne.
Absolutely.
Well, it starts with putting things down on paper. So, viewers, San Mateo County, grab a pen and paper, and we're going to create a budget. We should begin by asking, can you write at least 3 purchases that you've made in the past 3 days with the exact amount that you spend on them? And then?
It was very helpful last night as I was reviewing this and when you had sent this to me to prepare for this show, because I sat back and I'm like, what have I bought in the last couple days? So I think it's very helpful. But let's talk about, so first we write down our 3 purchases. Now we want to move into, you want to take the guessing out of questions like this. So we have a budget sheet that you're going to walk us through showing the days of the week. So can you describe that?
Yes. So in order for us to create a budget, let's take the guessing, like you said, out of the equation, because I have the same problem too. And here's an example of a budgeting worksheet that San Mateo Credit Union uses that we find really helpful. You'll notice that in the top row, the budget sheet shows that the days of the weeks from Monday to Sunday, and there's a column labeled total expenses, and another column labeled weekly budget. Then on the left side of the page, we have a column full of many different categories. It has everything from groceries to gas, so you can really pinpoint where your spending is going. Let's begin by asking everybody, the viewers, at the top of their page to write what their monthly income is. So write your monthly income at the top of the page.
Okay.
And you can write this as a combined income if you're married or if you have joint incomes in the house. Then we're going to focus on the budget column, which is the most important part of the entire sheet. This is where you're going to have to do a little bit of adding and multiplying, but don't get scared. We'll help you out with everything.
Great.
Remember, we are budgeting by week. If you total up the amount that you plan to spend on the various categories like the gas or groceries and eating out and such, ask yourself, are you spending within your means? Remember, at the top of your page, you have your monthly income, that key number, and compare that budget to your income, and then we're gonna make adjustments, accordingly.
And that is very helpful because you're going to get into talking about the absolutes, so the must-haves. So things, for example, your rent, a car payment, very specific. So walk us through some of this because you have disposable income that you'll be able to use for different things. So tell us some more. This is fascinating.
Yes. So moving forward, let's just say, for example, that I have budgeted $70 for groceries a week. I like to eat a lot. So I have $6 for eating lunch and eating out, and then $5 for entertainment because I like to have fun. That brings me to a weekly budget, if you add everything together, to $81. If I spend $81 a week, that is approximately $324 a month. Then I have to ask myself, does this make sense given my budget? So, take a moment to think about, your budget and your income. Does that make sense? You'd be very surprised, Rosanne, of how often people budget without actually taking their income into consideration. If you're budgeting for more than you have, then you're actually setting yourself up for a very challenging month.
Very much so. And why do you think people do that? Why do you think people actually don't even think about their income when they're budgeting? Is it they don't have time, or can you give us some other tools to make sure that they're, one, thinking of their income, and two, they're tracking their spending?
That's a very interesting question. I do think that, being in the Bay Area, being in San Mateo County, we all live very busy lives. So, there's many numerous things, family and work and friends and other obligations. But this tool that we use at San Mateo Credit Union kind of makes it easier for you and helps you keep track of your budget day by day. So if you go back to the example of, the spending, it's important to know that in one day I've spent already $71.33, like in the example we're going to show you on the screen. And it was pretty easy to do, because you could swipe your card, pay things online, makes spending very easy.
You get bored, you're at home, you're watching TV, you're on a website ordering things, and you just forget.
Yes, and there's so many things to do and so many places I'd like to eat, for example. But with spending-wise, you can see that groceries are necessary. Like I said, I like to eat. But for the other part of it, the $19.11, close to $20, I'm spending on things like restaurants and entertainment that may have not been the best thing for my budget. Let's say if I was saving up for a house, for example.
Right.
I could have definitely used that money on something more important, like, bus passes, getting to and from work in case I can't take part. Or more gas, you don't know
about gas prices. They're going up and down. And
exactly.
Should people think about carrying a notebook with them, just a small or a piece of paper or something where they can track things? Is that something you'd recommend, where they can track their spending and then put it onto that list, or use their smartphone to have an app or something? Oh,
yes. Working at the South San Francisco branch, we service a numerous amount of people. I even had one member tell me, "Oh, honey, to get a hold of me, you have to contact my smoke signals." So whatever helps you out, whether it's a pen and paper or a little notebook, or nowadays apps, there are numerous apps that you can download and do all this categorizing for you. You can even sync your checking account and your credit card to them so you can really keep track of where your money's going. Of course, we always recommend that you thoroughly research the app that you are downloading, and make sure it's from a legitimate organization and or company before providing them any personal banking information.
I think that's very important because there are so many scams out there, and telling people right up front, be careful. Make sure that whatever tool that you are using to do a budget process, you need to keep track of it. And Michael, I want to thank you today as a loan advisor with San Mateo Credit Union, and thank you for actually coming in. And is there any closing thoughts that you would like to share? Because our next segment is going to be on saving, which is another big part of budgeting.
Oh, yes. On top of even using the apps, you know, San Mateo Credit Union, we have that worksheet that we're showing you guys, and we probably will have that accessible on our website, so you can take that one or make one yourself and, you know, put it in a little sheet protector, and, you know, you can just change it day by day and just track your budget and make sure that you're not spending within your means and saving up for more important things.
I think it would be very helpful if San Mateo Credit Union could put that on their website, and it's smcu.org.
Yes, smcu.org.
Great. Thank you very much for being here today. And then we're going to move into savings next.
Yes, and thank you for having me, Rosanne.
Thank you.
Since 1952, San Mateo Credit Union has been proud to help San Mateo County members and their families achieve their financial dreams. Our deep commitment to the community we serve includes offering a wide variety of financial education programs, like financial literacy workshops for youth, adults, and seniors, seminars about raising money-smart kids, identity theft prevention, and many more. For more information about San Mateo Credit Union, visit us at www.smcu.org.
Welcome to More Than Money. I'm Rosanne Foust, and I'm your host today. With us is Jan Regala, who is a loan officer with San Mateo Credit Union. We are going to be talking about probably a subject that everyone should be paying attention to, and that's budgeting and saving. Welcome, Jan.
Thank you for having me, Rosanne. As we've seen earlier with Michael and Jennifer being here, budgeting can be, excruciatingly hard for some people. But when we actually have tools that we can use to help us attain those goals, we can be smart about setting goals for ourselves. And that segues into what we have for SMART goals. SMART goals stands for specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
This is a really critical slide.
Yes.
I would suggest that anyone watching this at home, get out a piece of paper, write down the word SMART as we're talking about each of the goals. So let's give us an example as we go through what each letter stands for.
Yes. So when you set a goal for yourself, you have to think in terms of making a smart decision. So you have to have a specific goal. Specifically, if you want to, let's say, for example, you want to go back to school. That's a specific goal that you've set for yourself.
Absolutely.
So that would be the first step for SMART goals. And, you have to know which school you wanted to go to. You want to go to a community college? Do you want to go to a four-year university? Do you want to go to an art school? Those are things you need to factor in to be specific with your SMART goals.
Okay. And that is really critical, because as we go through, you're going to explain more about why being very specific about that initial goal leads us to each of the next levels of SMART.
That's correct, Roseanne.
So here...
When you actually measure your goal and you're actually doing a SMART decision to make a SMART goal, you know when you've reached your goal. So basically, anything that factors into actually making that SMART goal, encompasses a measurable thing, like, for instance, monetary. So you need $900 to get into a community college. So how are you going to measure that? How are you going to save for that amount before you actually go to a community college, for instance?
Yes, and that's one of the key considerations,
Right.
is how will you measure it?
Right.
And then moving on to achievable or attainable. Let's talk a little bit about that. Once you've set the goal, once you've said, okay, this is how I'm going to measure how I can reach the goal, how do we achieve it? How do we attain it in budgeting and saving? I mean,
Right.
it is not easy.
Right.
So give us some ideas.
So, for instance, you have a paycheck that you receive, 26 times a year, and you've allotted budgeting for some entertainment. For instance, maybe you can cut that down by at least like $30 or $40 per paycheck and save that and use that up as a savings tool for you to achieve enrolling in a university if you don't want to finance it. So those are little things that you can do to attain and achieve that. And if you put that on yourself and you have a little savings account that you put aside, that would make it attainable for you.
And it's always helpful too, and I know through the credit union, you can have money taken out of your paycheck.
Yes,
and
you
you can have it put into a separate account so you don't see it.
Yes.
Because once we see it, once it's in our bank account, I mean, if we're out, we're not thinking about that impulsive purchase that we do. So we want to keep that to factor in for the attainable piece.
Right, right.
So then going into the relevant.
Yes, so relevance is very, very crucial. Is your goal relevant to your lifestyle right now? Would it be something that can wait later on? Is it something that's pressing that you want to do? Is it a dream that you've had and you wanted to pursue but you've been putting it aside or you've been putting it in the back burner? So if you want to act on it now, make sure it's relevant with your current lifestyle and how your life is proceeding at this moment.
And that's a hard question for people to answer because we all have dreams, we all have things that we want to do, and sometimes I think getting into is it relevant to my current situation? I mean, that is something we need to step back from and take a moment to think about it. And then going on to the timely piece. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, timely would be time bound. So basically you have to set a goal for yourself, but you can't push it forward for more than let's say 6 months. So if you really wanted to enroll, you have to set a time limit for yourself. It has to be within a certain time frame. Is it 3 months, 6 months, next semester, next year? So you would know what your target date would be and you know when to achieve it. And it would be more time bound in that sense.
I think that makes so much sense. And can you just walk us through quickly what SMART means again? So starting with S.
SMART would be specific.
Specific.
M would be for measurable.
Measurable.
Attainable for A or achievable.
Great.
R for relevant, and T for time bound or timely.
I think that's great. Jan, just some final thoughts with budgeting and saving and how these SMART goals really make it all come together.
Like for instance, okay, we have a culmination of what SMART goal would be. So you will have saved $900 for tuition at Skyline College to attain a certificate in massage therapy by July of 2014. That would be your ultimate goal using SMART goal.
And I think when you sit down with clients at the credit union, you use the tools that we've seen today. And are people a little bit surprised when they see this, or they haven't thought about it in this particular way?
Well, I think everybody knows that you have to have a goal to achieve something, but sometimes when you don't have it on paper, it's hard to actually, visualize what it should be. So we do have some financial goals tool that's also available for our members, which is on our website. And on this balance track sheet, it just shows you, having a goal for a short-term, mid-term, and long-term goal. So.
And I want to thank you for actually coming on today and sharing some of these tools and techniques with us. I think it's really important for all of our viewers to understand about budgeting and saving, and San Mateo Credit Union is such a good partner. So thank you, Jan.
Thank you for having me, Rosanne.
Good to see you.
Thank you.